And later here on the Total Sports Network, you'll see the cartoonist Bob Englehart to whip out his pad again and pay tribute to sports royalty from his seat in the last row.
He's a good old boy from the South, and they call him the King. No, not of rock and roll, of stock car races. He's Richard Petty, the winningest driver ever on a NASCAR track, and today is his last race. He's going to retire. Maybe he'll spend more time with his grandchildren. You know, he could use a break. After all, Eisenhower was president when he started making stock car racing history. And even though he hasn't won a race since 1984, his fans still think he walks on water. Or is that antifreeze? Richard Petty's not the only sports legend to leave this season. Boston's Garden is just not going to be the same without Larry Bird. And now there's a giant hole in the defense where Lawrence Taylor used to be. But their fans will never forget him. In fact, they'll all be immortalized. Richard Petty, I can see him now in a portrait fit for a king. On black velvet, of course.
Right after an abbreviated NFL game day at 12:30 Eastern here on ESPN, the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship will be decided in the final race of the season, the final race of Richard Petty's stellar career. Number 43 on the side of his car. There is no mistaking Richard Petty. He is the king. 200 victories, including 7 Super Bowls, the Daytona 500. After 35 years of thrilling millions of fans, Petty has decided to step down from his throne. And as Gary Miller reports, it's the end of an era, prompting some drivers to say racing will never be the same.
Richard Petty began racing in 1958. It wasn't until 1960 that he first visited Victory Lane. There would be 199 more trips. After that initial win, through the rest of the decade, he won 100 more races, including being first to the checkered flag an incredible 27 times in a span of 48 races one season. In 1972, he began a long relationship with STP. It's made the blue and red number 43 one of the most recognizable symbols in sport. The son of former racing legend Lee Petty, the King had a perfect combination of genes and gears. The Petty family has always prepared cars right in their own North Carolina backyard. Coupled with endless factory support, few other teams have even approached their success.
From time to time, yeah, we did have an advantage. We'd come up with something that would work better than anybody else, and we'd run it till it run out, or Junior would come up with something better than we had, and then we'd have to improve our stuff.
Petty's last win came on Independence Day 1984 with President Reagan in the stands at Daytona. The King won a thrilling duel with Cale Yarborough for his 200th win. All that put Richard Petty in a league of his own.
The only record I ever really wanted was the 200th one, and that when I got it, I couldn't do no more, but that was the only one that I really tried to get.
The nearest active drivers are Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt with 84 and 53 wins. Petty has averaged about a half a dozen wins a year, while Waltrip has averaged 4 to Earnhardt's 3. At that rate, those two would compete well into the next century to reach Petty's milestone at an age when a walker might replace the steering wheel.
I think the sport's changed so much over the years that it's hard for one guy. I think it's impossible for sure the guy can go out and win 200 races today.
Some of the records and stuff that might be completely out of the realm of possibility because the circumstances now and the system is so much different than what it was when I came through.
Next year, Richard Petty will still be present trackside, but on the other side of the pit wall as an owner. Gary Miller, ESPN.